I would even say like sometimes we were a little too like too strict, or too like we're just here to work. Like we're not here to fuck around. Can we cuss?
Yeah, you're okay. We're gonna survive this one.
So how do you say it? So like, you know, because it just got to the it got to the point, but like it's just, I guess that's just how like we kind of are, and I don't know. So there's a lot for sure. It's more fucking around when we're in the studio. We're, you know, we're drinking.
I think I was the one that was mostly fucking around all the time because I was like laughing and just joking.
I mean, but that's
around.
cool though. That's cool.
I mean, it's cool too, yeah. But there was a time to get serious too. Like whenever we had to make a song, we had to make it.
Man, I like that because I see Ham and I'm like, this is everybody's guy. Like Ham is there for you. Ham has got your back. Ham is gonna roll with you.
Oh yeah.
And then the only thing is like, all right, Ham, like now it's time for us to get this verse down, bro. Come on.
Exactly.
But like it's all about the vibe. It's all about that energy. Like you also need
Ham about the vibe. Fuck the music.
That's
Ham about the vibe.
Yeah, because you need that in a crew. You need that in your community. You need somebody who just brings you back down to earth.
To earth, exactly. Back to reality. Yeah.
It's cool though. It's cool though because like it would not have been as fun or as like if all of us were there to just work, or if all of us were just there to like fuck around. Like each person kind of like brought in what they brought in, so that kind of made the day like go. You know, like each individual person, how they were and how they write, how whatever their process is. It was just kind of like a part of how we are, and I kind of wish to a certain extent I knew that then. Like my process is different. The way that you know, like when I hear music or when I start to boom, my process is that. Elmer's process is kind of the same, whereas Elias's, and well, not even Elias, but like it just wasn't the same process. And I kind of wish I would have understood that a little bit better, as opposed to just like kind of like complain about it, I guess, because I did a lot of complaining. I did a lot of complaining.
Actually, what you're saying really hones in on something, which is, first of all, that was the first time that everybody was getting together like this.
Yes,
for sure.
This was the year of 2020. There was a whole lot going on. In fact, the very reason for the album coming together in the first place was something serious, something that you don't play with.
Yeah.
And then that time, 2020, I think everyone there are so many more people who would like to forget rather than remember just how much folks were going through at that moment in time.
Yeah,
right?
That's actually very, yeah.
And then what I really appreciate about what you're saying is that, like, in hindsight, I realize we could have done it a little differently. The point is that you got it done. Now you can actually take that form, what you put out already, reassess your process, and as we've already said, as we've already talked about, go at it again, give it another shot, see what else comes through the next go round, which is exciting.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It kind of is, yeah. After we met up with you, we kind of had like this little 2-3 minute talk outside of the shop of like the mom and pop, and we were like, I think we should do this shit again. And like I felt it, and I saw in everybody's faces that it was like, if we were to get together, which I'm pretty sure we will, it's just a timing thing, like I just know it deep in my heart that it's gonna be a different thing, like process wise, because I guess when it comes to like the making music, everybody in their own way is skilled, so it's not like it's more like learning how to make a better project, but not music wise, more like how to like be, you know, like in the same room and like get it done kind of thing.
I mean, I think Cam knows a little bit about that because you stay on a team.
Yeah, of course. I think we all have like creative differences, but we all come together as one when we're all in the same room. So I think that's what we really feed off, the energy of people. Like, yeah. So it's pretty cool. Like,
actually, you just came up with a phrase that I had not heard before, which is creative differences.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, we all have our
creative differences.
Yeah, but we all have the same.
But you know what's crazy?
Mindset.
Even though our creative differences is different and our process of doing things were different or are different or whatever, there was never a time where like we didn't like take into account somebody's idea on something. whether it would be like Caesar trying to do a hook and he'd be like, because we would be stuck. Like, first of all, we don't know what the hook is, so the beat will be playing for like 10 minutes. And sometimes it's hard to like write a verse because we don't know what the hook is. So we don't know what the premise, like, what are we gonna do here? Are we gonna talk shit? Are we gonna flaunt? Are we gonna flex? Are we gonna talk about the struggles? But like, anybody, any moment that said, I have an idea, let me do it, even if it was whack, we still kind of like, we'll just like do it better, kind of like we never.
Even if that's whack, bro.
No. Not whack, but like, for example, like maybe it wasn't properly timed on the song, like we weren't like on beat kind of thing. I cannot recall one moment when we were like, yeah, no, we're not gonna do that. I don't think.
I think we all took the constructive criticism very well. You know what I mean? So I think that's what helped us out a lot too. In making music, we all took criticism very well, and we proceeded. You know,
everybody was
able
cool to
cool.
like bob and weave, like
It gave us that little push.
yeah.
I feel like it was that little push in order for us to get this done. So it was really cool that we all fed off each other like that.
Right. I mean, and to wind back a little bit, to be sure, we are here with two MCs. We are here with two born and raised Virgil Village residents.
That's right.
From day one to infinity.
That's right.
We got two of the VVs in the house, and I just want to really recognize you for coming through today, for making time to have this talk with me.
I just realized
For
that's
all of
that's you, right?
That's me too.
That's
That's
dope.
JimboTimes.com.
That's
really
dope
cool.
as fuck. It's crazy that like, because I'm more surprised that like you're willing to do all this shit for us. Like
Yeah.
it'd be different if like we were to hit you up and be like, hey, we want to rent out the studio. Here's $50 for the hour, X, Y, and Z or whatever. Usually that's how shit goes. But the fact that you are willing to do the mom and pop stuff and then this and then plus more, it kind of gives me more like, damn, we should do another tape, like, because this is tight. Like I would never have expected for somebody to want to do this, especially from something that like I did or something that I was a part of, kind of shit. Like it kind of shows me that like, I guess what we did impacted somebody out there some way, somehow.
I mean, we were just talking about it a moment ago. We were talking about Native Guns.
Yeah, Native Guns. Man.
We were talking about
So
a crew
amazing.
who you're gonna check out soon.
I pretty.
Who, as soon as you get through 2 to 3 jams on your playlist, you're gonna realize, damn, like these cats were skilled, and not just that, people around them noted it, and then it became even more of a situation because people really thrived off those jams. People
Yeah.
really enjoyed coming together. People really liked being under one umbrella. In their case, Filipino town and Filipinx culture, and not just that, but coming up in LA from an immigrant family, coming up in LA, working class, working for every little bit that you got.
Yeah.
And so for me, when we're out here and it's 2023 and I come across Virgil Village, the album, all of those things click, and I'm like, oh, by all means, like if somebody took the time to put this together on their own end, especially as 5 different heads, 5 different personalities, 5 people with different directions ahead of them, I realize, oh, somebody has to at least know that this happened. At the
Right.
very least, people gotta know. It's just like when we send out satellites to space and we have no idea what's coming back or if they're getting anything. But the point is, we gotta give that a shot, just like you all did, right?
Exactly.
You gave it a shot in 2020, at the end of 2020, December 2020 is when the album published, and then nearly 3 years later, some cat is bumping the album and letting you all know that, hey, you know what? Let's take some time to really think about this and put it out for people to see. So it's a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah,
It's a little
Right,
bit,
yeah.
it's a little bit of everything.
Exactly.
because where I'm at, it's highly important for me to find locals, to find working class people, especially people who have to take time out of their
Their day.
9 to 5.
That's what you
to
brought
do
up.
this.
That's what you brought up last time at the pizza shop, which I was kind of interested in that. Why is it specifically that you view that as a point where, like, because I don't know, for one thing, it's crazy that it's just the timing of it was just crazy. It was just meant to be, because if we try to do it now, I mean, we can't even get all here together because we're like busy. And I guess COVID's done, so everybody is working. That throughout that time, we were always like available. Like
we were available
like almost every day.
Every day.
Yeah, almost every day, and almost
or
every other day we were at the studio. Like
definitely, the pieces fell.
Yeah,
together.
for sure. So it's
all on the way.
I'm kind of curious as to why you bring that as a point. Like, what is it about people, I guess, pursuing their 9-to-5s or whatever, and them doing this? What is that? Why is that a point for you? Why? I'm curious about that. Like, because nobody has ever told me anything like that. Usually it's always like, oh, hey, congrats on what you're doing. I see you doing it, and like that's it. But I guess the fact that you bring it up, it's like it makes it real. Like, yeah, because we do have jobs and we do fucking like try to work and try to save up here and there or whatever, and like we still do make the time to like make this. So it almost makes you question, like, why do I do it if I have a job already and, you know, X, Y, and Z? So I kind of like that you always bring that up. It makes me think more like I should probably do something with like this.
Well, and it's just like you said, it's like in 2020 there was a uniqueness to that time.
Yeah.
So it's almost a gap year. It's almost like this anomalous situation, right? It was an outlier. It was an outlier. It was this sliver of time where you did not have to worry specifically or strictly about showing up for your shift, because if you didn't, you have to start that search all over again for your bills and for your food and for your rent. And so it was this sliver of time where, just like you said, everybody got to do a little bit of what they're, first of all, interested in doing. Something that is important to them. And just like you all are putting out these rhymes and you're taking the time to think about a memorial to somebody that you truly care for, and you're doing it because you feel it just needs to get done, it's the exact same process for me, where like when everything is said and done, the time capsules that I'm able to put together with my people, those are important to me for whoever comes up. I don't know if you all ever visited LACC like this, but back in the day when my fams and I would get out there just to chill on the grass and enjoy the serenity of the spot a little bit, we used to come across these time capsules that were like planted in the ground.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so the time capsule would say like, don't open this until 2050 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, these cats are ill to think about something like that.
Yeah,
to think about putting whatever meant something to them in a little box in the ground, and to let people know this is for you, but you gotta wait for it. That idea never left me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for me, Virgil Village, the album, is that. JT the LA Storyteller podcast is that. So that whenever whoever's next comes across some of this info and does what they gotta do with it, by all means.
Yeah, I feel like it's this album might be motivation to somebody else to do something that's local.
Yeah.
So, you know, somebody from the VVs might see our album and be like, you know what, I can do that. I could do that. Or I could do something like that. You know, so it's really cool that you say that.
That's 100% the case, because one thing I noted in the story for this album was that it's been 50 years of hip hop in the world. 50 years of hip hop, and they just celebrated it at the Grammys in February. And
I saw that. Yeah.
And you had all these folks come through, and what I noted as well was that, hey, like hip hop is everywhere now. You can go to Saudi Arabia, you can go to Kazakhstan, you can go to Papua New Guinea, and you'll find hip hop heads all over the world.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And so then when I find hip hop heads just on the block on Virgil Avenue, not only people who are hip hop heads, but people who took the time to put these verses down, get these ideas on paper out, that we're gonna call attention to it, because there are a whole bunch of other people, I'm certain, who have asked before, hey, is there hip hop down there? Hey, like, does anybody jam to hip hop out here? Especially in the age of gentrification, where like it's easy to pave over what was there before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the modus operandi. It's automatic that we're paving over what was there before.
Yeah.
But before that happens, for me, something like this is letting people know, hey, we were here.
Yeah.
Our stories were here.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if you know these blocks and if you know the neighborhood as young men, that doesn't just come easy. It doesn't just come easy.
Right.
There are a lot of people who we wish could be right inside of this room with us, who we wish we could be interviewing together,
Right.
or having a convo with together at some point. We have gotten this far, and so at that point, it's like, well, now we owe it. We owe it to everybody.
Yeah.
We owe it to the team. We owe it to everybody who didn't make it. And for me, Virgil Village, the album, is the beginning of that. It's actually not like it's one project. It's complete up to this point. But just as you said, hey, like there's more we want to do. So I'm all for that, and I know I'm not the only one.
Yeah,
No,
definitely.
I don't know what kind of like feedback you've gotten from like like the people around you. I mean, because we have mutual friends, but like
Yeah,
people around your circle.
I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from a lot of people, especially from the neighborhood, to my family, to my friends, to even people who just heard it on Spotify or Apple Music, and it's also there's gonna be negative feedback
Right.
too from people,
Right.
or but you gotta look at the good things in life, you gotta look at the good things, so it's really cool.
Yeah, I'm surprised that like I don't want to say that I'm surprised that we got this much love and feedback, but I am kind of surprised.
I was surprised because I thought nobody was gonna listen to us.
Yeah,
At
facts.
first, that's what my mindset was like. Oh, nobody's gonna listen to us. And maybe we're
Spit facts, that's right.
honestly that
Sure,
was my thing.
sure.
But then I said, you know what? I'm still gonna go and do it.
Right.
I motivated myself internally, like
It was crazy, bro. Like the whole process shit was so fascinating, and like I actually never realized how how meaningful Virgil Village actually is
Sure.
until I was doing that album, because then like especially when we started to take pictures of like what the album cover was gonna be like, and we saw the Swami picture. We took pictures of the cab station already. I think we took pictures of the car wash on Melrose and shit like that. So it was kind of like them to have grown up here, to have gone to the McDonald's here and like gone through these places, and then to know that like we're making a song about, I don't know, like we're an album, like a whole project. It was kind of like, bro, like I haven't even realized the neighborhood that I've been in.
Mhm.
Like I've known the streets, like you said, and it hasn't been like an easy thing because of like gang related stuff. But like for me I have never once said, oh, I'm proud to be from Virgil Village, until I started to make the album, because that's when I really realized like, oh, community and all this, like it's important, and this shit really does exist. Like for example, like you're very community driven. You rep Virgil Village even before the VV's tape. You were about the village anyway, which is what I really fuck with. And like I didn't realize that until I started to make the album, that I'm like, dude, I really live in this community, and there's other people like me, and like it was for sure dope making it with people that lived in the block, like
That's right.
literally a couple blocks away, like street, maybe different times, maybe we didn't know each other back then, but like that was just crazy. Like it was meant to be. Like everybody knew the grit of of this area kind of shit. So it really helped piece together the same mindset and the same view of like the neighborhood.
That's
yeah.
really real, and I mean, for me, it's like that's this neighborhood, that's this slice of LA, and yet that exists for kids just like us all across this city, all across this
And
country.
see, I didn't look at it like that, because to me it was more like, well, I live in LA,
Yeah, same.
right? But never have I really thought like, well, I'm from Virgil Village. Like,
Well, those two are
literally,
intertwined.
They are
those
intertwined.
two
Well,
are-
for one
Those
thing,
two are almost the
for
same.
one thing, we got Virgil Village here, and then you go a couple minutes, it's Los Feliz. So like, there's so many cities intertwined within LA that it's kind of hard to really. I guess that's why it's kind of hard to rep a community specifically, because LA is so big,
That's
and
right.
yet it's just, I guess it's kind of easier to say like, yeah, LA, or like Hollywood, for example, East Hollywood. That's what I would say, LA. And if they would ask where specifically, I'd say East Hollywood. And it wasn't until I made the tape that I realized, shit, there's even a deeper area in East Hollywood, which is Virgil Village. And like,
Well, I mean, even on the album, you are quoting Mac P. Rest in
Right,
peace,
rest
Mac
in
P.
peace.
Dog. And you quote him during this interview in which he says, I grew up in East Hollywood, more specifically Virgil Village.
yeah, which was crazy.
That's
like,
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That was a crazy
That
interview.
that interview is from 2019.
Yeah.
And so even at that point, this was a reality for somebody. This was
Wow.
the way to navigate it for
Yeah,
somebody.
wow, that's dope. No, you're right. You're 100% right.
What was really cool about that interview is that Josh never forgot where he came from.
Right.
So
Right.
he always knew he was part of the village. Like that was really cool.
I don't think he would have ever.
I mean, he was starting to blow up.
Yeah.
And he never forgot about his home. You know what I mean? So that was really cool. You know.
He never forgot. Yeah, you said it. He never forgot his home. I don't think that he would have ever forgotten, no matter how
No.
deep he would have gotten out there. I don't think that he would have ever forgotten, like, not that he struggled, but like the struggle of what it is to be here in any community. Because like if you live in Koreatown, whatever, that has a struggle on its own, whatever, right? But yeah, I for sure can tell that like he would have never forgotten like this. This is none of us are. This is so centric to like our lives and whatnot. Like the King Middle School, like Dayton Heights, Lockwood Elementary, like all of these places and areas, the McDonald's here, like all of these things are so
That's
like
right. That's
they're
right.
our hood, bro. Like
That's
it's the
right.
streets, like.
I mean, and that represents a time, you know what I mean? Like when Nas in '94 puts out this album that's gonna change the world. First and foremost, he's repping everybody. He's repping his crew. He's repping what he knows.
Right.
When Kendrick Lamar puts out Good Kid, Mad City, a whole community has this light shown on it. And so for me, when cats who look like me, who sound like me, who walk the way I do, and even walk through the streets that I do, are taking the time to put this together, that's just so key because that isn't guaranteed to happen again in the same way.
Right.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Exactly.
It's cool to think about what you may inspire from here on out, say in a neighborhood like Virgil Village or in the larger area of East Hollywood, but it's not guaranteed that you'll have another couple of heads who come together and say, let's rep this and let's just put it out for everybody to know. It's not promised, right? So the fact that you did it in the first place is one thing, and now even though it's harder to come together, even though everybody is on their grind, it is still worth giving these projects a shot.
For sure,
Of course.
for sure,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there are people from, I mean, even in that Mac P interview, I think a little bit about where this cat who was speaking with him even heard of something like Virgil Village before.
Right.
Because it was clear that he hadn't grown up in the neighborhood, clear that he was asking about it, kind of surveying about it, just sort of off the top of his mind. And for me, it dawned on me that, hey, there are people all over who somehow know that Virgil Village exists. And in the work that I've gotten to do through my colleagues, alongside my peers out here, there are folks from the 70s, from the 80s, certainly from the 90s.
Who've been knowing about, right?
Yeah, who had their own little sliver of time with the neighborhood, right?
And that's the shit that really trips me out because, like I said, like I never really started to look at it like that until I made this project with like my friends, and like that kind of blew my mind. Like, bro, this is an actual area. This is an actual place on like a map kind of thing. It's not just our home or like our streets. It could be like you said, like an area in the 70s where people were together here, like little did we know kind of thing. And it was dope. Like, it's dope. I think that, again, like I think the fact that we were all from here, including Joshy and like Marvin, may he rest in peace as well, like it made it so like natural because we were all just from here. And not once did it ever feel like, for one thing, nope, not even our producer Saul was like an outside. He literally lived down the street on like
also
Brownstone.
shout out
Like,
to
Right,
so shout out to Saul, shout out to Aztec,
Burnside
Burnside Studios, yes sir.
Shout out to Saul, Aztec, he's real dope. He helped us a lot.
Oh,
Yeah.
A lot.
Those are some cool beats.
Yeah,
Those are
yeah,
some
yeah,
cool
yeah,
beats,
yeah.
man.
He really put in the time and the work to master and just perfect it. He's
Actually,
really good at what he does.
And this is what we'll do. What I want
Really
to
good at what he
do.
does.
What I want to do for a moment is let's actually listen to some of the album. We'll cut it in, throw in a song or two for the podcast so that folks tuning right into the podcast can click or connect
That's so dope,
directly with what you got going on. And
oh man, they gonna put me on blast.
hey, actually, now that you mention it, I got my little.
Hey.
I don't mind.
I don't know. There you go. But this is what we'll do. Let's listen to a little bit of the album real quick, and then I'm actually gonna formally introduce you for a moment, just to be sure, just to make certain that people know who we got in the house today.
I'm
who we're kicking it with today. You're definitely repping it. Both of you are.
Hey.
So let's actually tune in for a moment. Let's see here. Virgil Village, the album. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
It even feels good, and it feels crazy in a good way to like be doing this, because like I don't know, bro, like we made I think all of us we're just making a fucking album, like we're just making songs, like that's what it was. I think that's why we never pushed it further than just that, because to us it was like we're just making songs, like we're a bunch of freaking young adults, and it's crazy to think that like that shit was like 3-4 years ago. Time flies.
Yeah, no, time flies. Yeah, 3
flies
years
so
goes by
bad.
really
That's
quick.
right.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
But yeah, I
But
think
that had to get done. Go ahead, Ham. Go
oh,
ahead.
I think a lot of stuff that happened back then really motivated us to do this.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think everybody was on the same frequency, like mentally. I think we were all trying to figure out, like our trying to make our stamp in the world kind of shit, you know, whatever that was, whether it be through your 9 to 5 or through this, that, or the other. Like I think everybody, even Saul, and being a producer, like everybody had something to like offer.
That's right.
And
That's
not just like musically, kind of, because there's many parts of it. Like there was times where like I didn't have my like 25 cut for like the studio hour kind of thing, so either Elmer or Ham or Elias would be like, cool, fuck it, I'll spot an extra 25 next session or whatever, spot me those back. And it would always be like that. Sometimes Saul himself would be like, it's cool, whatever, if you guys don't have it
If
today,
you don't have it, you know.
give me 50 today, give me the rest tomorrow.
When those are details too, right? Because
And
even
shout out to Saul, yeah, because there was
Yeah.
probably there were like
There was actually a lot of times
Yeah.
where we couldn't pay, and
well,
he helped us out a lot.
I mean, and those details are key, right? Because it takes that
Really?
it takes that little click, it takes that thread, that link between you all. It takes the fact that you're repping the same neighborhood, that these are your boys,
Mhm.
that this is not just business, because all respect to business, but you do that every other day.
I feel you. I
You
feel
do that
yes,
every other
100%.
day.
And I
You
now
do that
for
with
like,
everybody else, but when it comes to your people, there's just something a little different, and that's the lasting thread that's led us here.
It's a different
Yeah.
kind of love for sure.
it's a different kind of love.
That's
yeah.
right.
So
I mean,
again,
at some point,
shout out to Saul, bro.
the neighborhood is coming together. Actually, like your parents or my parents or our grandparents. In some cases, they're coming over to Los Angeles for the first time ever, and they just so happen to land in Echo Park or Silver Lake or East Hollywood before these things are big names. And lo and behold, it takes a little letter, a bit of correspondence between them and the other side to let the other side know, hey, this is where I'm at, pull up.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happens. Little by little, a couple of families turn into a dozen families, a dozen families turn into a whole neighborhood.
Yeah,
And so it's been this way, but the fact of the matter is that somehow that survives when at the end of the day you don't have quite everything you need for your homie at the studio, but your homie at the studio knows, hey, this project matters, we're gonna get it done, I know you're gonna get me when you can, let's make it pop. That's how these neighborhoods keep going, actually.
Yeah, for sure.
It's all that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's like Ham said, it's a special type of love, you know, because like for one thing, yeah, he's our homie, and I understand, like even if the roles were reversed and I was a producer and he was a rapper kind of thing, I do the exact same thing. But like a lot of times I would secretly think like, yeah, but this is how he makes his money. Like, you know, we have our 9 to 5s and then we're making music on the side, whereas this is how he pays his, like this is his 9 to 5. You know what I mean? So there were times where like me and Elmer would text each other like outside of the group and we'd be like, yo, make sure that like we do have the money. Make sure that like, you know, and it didn't really matter because there were, like I said, there was a couple times where like I didn't have my cut, and it didn't matter about like, it wasn't more like, it wasn't like specifically about one person not having the cuts. It was more like, let's just make sure the Sewell gets paid, because that's how he brings food into his table, kind of shit. So for him to like trust, even though we're friends and we're blood and we're brothers, you know, well, he's, after all this shit, I would consider him like a brother. For him to like have that trust nonetheless, and like, shout out to him, you know, only
Shout out DJ Aztec.
yeah, shout out DJ Aztec, like, you know, God bless his soul, because he could have easily been like, oh, well, you guys don't got it, like, the session ends here, kind of thing. But not once did he ever show that. Ever.
He definitely sacrificed a lot for us.
He definitely sacrificed a lot.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, for all of y'all listening, don't take that lightly. Don't let it mean.
Hey,
that
don't hit up homie and be like, let me pay back later. Right?
That's right. Don't let it mean. Don't think that everybody gets the same
bring that shit
kind of
here.
juice out here.
Yeah,
Don't
you're
think that
dead,
everybody
right?
got
Yeah,
that
all
same
your
juice. That's right. That's really special, man. I'm telling you, it's a time. It's a real time. It's a real connection between you all that only you know, and so
Yeah.
much love to it. Let's get into the album for a moment.
Let's get it.
I'm just gonna play it off the laptop just so that we all tune in. I'll edit this into the pod just so that it flows, just so that it flows smoothly. But let's start off with the intro, because why not?
Pretty hard. You actually grew up sort of in this neighborhood, huh?
Yeah, East Hollywood.
Tell us what that was like.
Shit. I grew up quite like this little village called Virgil, just down from Martinborough. And it was really just a small little district full of just kids doing the same shit I'm doing. Kind of a little organized, but have one little rent more than that. And to kind of, I guess, it's the environment I was at, just help you.
Just so extravagant, pass by that fucking.
Okay, and this is the first track, The Block.
See, I ride with my thoughts to the city, you know we ain't giving no fucks. We came from the bottom, we been through some problems, you knowing damn well we keeping that thing tugged. You ain't showing love, don't tell me what's up. I don't fuck with that shit, I've been had enough. Telling the squad that we go.
That guy's fucking special, bro. Elias is
man, I'm feeding the fam, you cannot running these last like
a dude on heavy like character. Like that man got a character, bro. I don't think I've ever met, no disrespect to any of my friends, but like, I don't think I've ever met anybody as solid as fucking Elias. He doesn't waver. He doesn't. Like, he don't judge you. He don't talk shit. He's just fucking so solid, humble as hell, dude. Yeah. Don brought a lot of like. He kind of brought, at least to me personally, he kind of brought like this like childlike vibe to like this like this young.
There's a swag to him.
Yeah.
There's a swag to his flow, actually.
I was really nervous on this track.
I love knowing that.
Yeah, I was really nervous. So
That's the real shit, though.
yeah, because Fuego, he really motivated me. Like he was pushing me and telling me, get this done, bro, get this done. You know, so I was just like, oh, what do I say here? What do I do? I don't know how to sound. Like, do I sound like this? You know, so I was really nervous on how I would sound on this song. But it came out cool though. I liked it.
It definitely came out cool, and I really like that background, because something I appreciate about, especially looking back at art, is behind the scenes, right? That time behind the scenes, because
Unforgettable.
it comes off one way to the listener, to the audience, to everybody watching, to everybody who's got like this amount of time for it. But for those of you behind the work, it was like you don't know what that took out of me.
Yeah.
That took a little bit.
Yeah.
And
No, for sure.
Just as you said, I got the homie over here and he's telling me I got to get it done, and I don't know, but
There was a lot of that.
there was a lot
There
going
was a
on
lot
in
of
my mind.
uncertainty on my end. You know what I mean? So I was very uncertain.
That's
like,
not what I meant.
how do I sound and how do I do?
I think
But
that was
do I
everybody.
sound okay
Yeah,
though?
that
Like,
was
I
everybody.
was just always asking them like,
Everybody minus Fuego, because I guess at that point Fuego had already been doing music for like 10 years.
Yeah,
and not,
Fuego had been doing this
since high school.
Yeah, I was rapping with him a lot during high school. So
That's
I
so
would,
cool. So for a moment, actually, let's shout that out.
yeah.
These
shout
are
out to
John
Fuego,
Marshall
man.
alums right here.
Yeah,
John
these are-
Marshall High School barrister,
Barristers,
baby,
right?
barrister for life.
These cats are 100% born and bred through the neighborhood. So that means King Middle School. That
Yeah.
means
King.
John Marshall
John
High.
Marshall.
That means
Lockwood and Dayton.
Lockwood, Dayton Heights. Shout out
That's
to
right. Look at that. Look at the unity
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
Lockwood, Dayton Heights. Even Virgil Middle School gets some of that love.
Yeah,
for sure.
Virgil, dude, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Slow down.
He's like,
bro.
wait, hold up.
Maybe not for everybody.
That's
But
Nah, it's
yeah,
like-
but the fact of the matter is that like you think about how many people got to make that track in their lives for 4 years at the very least, and everything going on, everything they're going through personally, especially seeing their homies go this or that direction. It takes a while. It takes a while to like see that it wasn't as simple as I show up every day and like I get it done. No, there were some days where you didn't know that
Like
you,
what each
that you were
person
gonna
was
get through the
battling,
night.
yeah.
That you were gonna get through this long night. That all these things were going on with your people. That all these things were going on in the neighborhood outside of you. That you could not control. Things such as the loss of especially our friends, our comrades, our would-be colleagues in this or that case,
Yeah.
right? And so, just as you said, you were rapping with Fuego, and sort of just around at that time, and I just like that idea.
No, they would have ciphers. Like I remember,
During
I never partook in any of the ciphers.
I think you were definitely there, but
I was around. Oh,
See, that's what I'm saying.
hype man for sure.
yeah. That was dope.
And
That
I
was
love
dope.
that. I love because when I was at Marshall, I didn't come across too many ciphers.
Oh, okay.
So when you all were doing it, you might have been doing something that was right there. Tell me more about the cipher for a moment.
So, well, in high school, Fuego was my road dog. We were like this. We would always be together. We'd
Shout out
always-
to Fuego.
Yeah,
also
shout out to
on the
Fuego,
album.
man.
Shout out
He's
to
dope as
Fuego. Shout out
fuck,
to
man.
Elmer. Yep.
I really wish he could be here, but
We're gonna get that time.
we'll
We're gonna
get that time.
later. Yeah.
But during high school, we would just pass by the ramp and, hey man, let's go cipher. Like, let's go rap. Let's go. Well, what do you got? We had something written during like class and come back, show me stuff.
What, you were writing bars during class, homie?
Class, yeah.
What?
Instead of doing what I was supposed
Instead
to
of
do.
doing that geometry.
No. You were doing what you were supposed to be doing.
Yeah, exactly, right? yeah, but instead of doing some of the things that I was supposed to be doing, I was rhyming, I was coming up with bars, I would listen to the beats, and I would show him, and we would have like class together sometimes, and I'd be like, look what I came up with, look. And I had this whole composition notebook full of rhymes.
I remember that.
I remember, yeah, I had a full, and I would carry this book everywhere.
I remember that.
I would carry it everywhere, yeah, and then that's when
And
we
your
started.
little Jansport backpack.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
Jansport
little
backpack, my little
Jansport
With your
lunchbox.
hoodie.
Yeah.
And his stretchers, because
Oh, I had stretchers back then, yo.
Oh, is that
I
right?
had double zeros.
Shout out to anyone who's still brave enough to be rocking.
Who's still brave enough? Oh, that's so
Damn.
good, bro.
That's crazy.
Oh,
But yeah, me and Fuego, man. If it wasn't for him, I don't think I would have been rapping right now, or I don't think I would have been motivated or pushed to be rapping.
Nah, for sure.
He
For
really
sure.
motivated me to do this. So.
And he was the type of person that always insisted, like, just pull up. He
Yeah.
never really the intention. I always felt the intention was like pull up and like make something, but it was never enforced. What was enforced was always like just pull up,
Just pull up.
kick it, smoke, drink.
Yes,
whatever.
with him it was like if you show up, that's already half the
Half the
work,
battle,
bro.
yeah.
That's half the work.
Which is probably true
Yeah, 'cause you-
most of the time.
Right.
Anything
Yeah, because
you
that
do.
is half the and it's actually I think it's the same. Like half the battle is like showing up.
That's the main thing.
Yeah.
Show up, yo. Like with anything, like a job or with an appointment or whatever. Show up. Just show up. You know?
Man,
The
really-
the
I
opportunities,
like
right?
that.
Those
That's right.
opportunities.
Just
there,
show up,
right?
bro.
Just
That's right.
show up.
Really
You never
living
know.
it. Really living it.
Yeah.
And actually, don't forget that line. Just show up because hey, when that next session gets going, just show up.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
That's exactly
It's
how
just,
these.
It's just opportunities, man. Like
Yeah.
if you know there's an opportunity, take it. You know, because you never know when you're gonna get that.
I remember being so heavy on that when we were in the studio. Like
you gotta just show up. We would be like, just show up, man, because today is the day. You know, today's the day. Today's the day.
Sorry guys, I can't make it.
Right? Like someone
somebody
over here.
earlier, like somebody.
We're not gonna drop names though. You know.
Who said I'll be there between?
I know.
between 4 and 4:20.
Like,
You got here 4:22ish, but it's all good.
It's all good.
You were catching up with somebody that you saw
Yeah.
randomly because you're from here like that.
Yeah.
He showed up,
Which
guys.
is-
He showed up.
Which again, shout out to David. Shout out to David Gomez.
He's a local too. He's
Local
he's
too,
our
down
friend.
the block.
Oh yeah.
He
Friends
went
in
to,
Madison.
He went to Marshall. He went to King. He was
Went to
Shout
Lockwood
out all these
King.
cats.
Yeah.
Shout out all these cats. It really isn't easy to come together,
Mm.
especially with these family obligations, with work, especially because as you get through more of your 20s, your people start getting into more serious relationships sometimes. They
Right.
got
Their own
children.
lives. Just,
Yeah, they got children they gotta feed and bring up, and all power to it, all love to it. And so then that means that it's sometimes just you and a few other folks who get to be together in a room, hanging out, chatting it up,
Right.
or dropping bars.
Yeah.
And so I really appreciate those shout outs, and my big goal, my big idea would be for us to have a listening party, to enjoy some of this together.
That'd be something.
That's
And if
dope.
not
That's
for the Virgil Village album, then for the follow-up or for volume 2,
Right.
whenever that
Right.
comes up.
I'm
No
down
promises
for, I'm
as
down
of
for
yet.
all of it.
Yeah,
I'm
no
down for all
promises
of
as
it,
of
yeah,
yet, but I'm
100%.
just saying that, hey, you don't know. I didn't know that somebody was going to take the time to do it in the first place, and now we're here.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Yeah.
shout out to you too, bro.
I was just gonna say that.
Thank you for taking the time
I was
to
just-
have us right here and talk to us and ask us questions and actually, like,
Yeah.
you know,
I was just
ask
gonna
us
say
about us and find out, you know, pick our brains.
Yeah. The biggest shout out.
Thank you. I really
Jimbo
appreciate
Times.
you.
100% Jimbo Times.
Yeah.
Out here with SickAssHam, as well as
Hey,
DeuceSeis
That's
of the
right.
VVs.
Even hearing our names is just, it's like, it's
In the Virgil Village.
That's right.
In the Virgil Village. This place that we came up in, this place that we know all too well.
Yep.
This place that you're gonna love and hate a little bit because it's got a little bit of everything. Just
Everything,
like with the
exactly.
city of LA. Just like with the city of LA. There's so much to it, and there's a lot of love, but there's a lot of loss that you gotta go through in order to really know this town.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that just the other day as I came across this mural of Kobe Bryant and his daughter. Rest in peace
Another
to
great legend.
824.
Rest in peace,
Rest in peace to every legend we've lost over just a
Yeah.
handful of years out here in LA. Especially these role
Rest in
models,
peace, Jesus
especially
Christ.
these superstars. That's
I
right.
thought that's what you said.
No, it's just there has been a lot of deaths.
No, yeah.
When you wrap your mind how many people we've lost and who we've lost,
You know what I think about
it's
sometimes?
it's very important to know, like, damn, we've lost a lot of people.
Jennifer.
Yeah, Jennifer.
Rest in
Man.
peace,
Shout out to
Jennifer
Jennifer.
Mendoza.
She
Yeah.
was really cool.
Beautiful soul, bro.
Yeah, she went to Marshall too.
Yeah.
Another
You know.
Marshall alum.
Yeah,
she was,
King middle school alum as
Yeah.
well.
No, I don't know about
No,
King.
she lived in a different area, but
Yeah.
she was
Okay.
definitely really
That's right.
cool,
She
too.
attended-
The neighborhood is that too. The neighborhood is also like people that are not strictly
strictly
here.
from here, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Who are
But from
still
other areas
a part of your
come, yeah.
community, still
I think
part
she
of
was.
your
I think she was Echo Park
fams.
area.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or something
Or
like that.
maybe
We're
I'm
always
She
not
played.
too sure.
She played softball for our high school team.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She unfortunately passed away in a car accident. I think someone crashed into her. But for some reason, I tend to really think about her a lot. At random times. I knew her. I didn't know her like super well, but I knew her well enough. And like for some reason, she just always pops into my mind. Like, oh man, I guess because of how like her persona, her like I said, like beautiful soul. Like every single time that like she pops into my mind, that's just what I think. She was just a beautiful freaking person to be around. Like such a charismatic, happy person, loving, kind. And like you know, Ham said, when you wrap your head around it, it's been a lot, dude. Gummy.
Yeah. I mean, actually, one day, like I think a little bit about the '60s for a moment because I really sort of have spent time looking at that moment in history, at least here on this side of the world, and I think about the losses that communities experienced then, losses of some major figures, people that seemed to seem to have every bit of life still ahead of them, who nonetheless lost their lives, especially unexpectedly and violently at that. And I realized one day somebody's gonna look back and trace everything that took place over just a handful of years, including the pandemic, but also those years leading up to that moment.
Right.
And they're gonna realize just as well that folks were going through a lot at this time. Folks, including young people such as ourselves, we're having to process quite a bit of information day in and day out. And so for me, actually, when you come through and you say, I'm gonna take my time and really focus on saying something meaningful and really let everybody know that here is just a bit of how I've gotten through. Maybe it can help you along your way. That matters, because that's the kind of focus and discipline and sharpening of our mind, especially as young men, that we need out there.
Yeah.
So
especially
much power to it.
Especially young men that didn't have like a father figure, not even a father figure, but like the father in the household. It's crazy, like, that you brought up, because it almost feels like authenticity. Like, nobody in the studio that we were with, not to like start beef or anything like that, but like, at least us, the BBs, like, you know, like, nobody ever really rapped about something that they weren't going through, kind of shit. Like, everything was authentic, everything was from an experience, whether it was at that moment, like we're struggling right now, whether it's from like the past, or I don't know, you know, living here, experience or whatever. So like, being really grounded to like the struggle, I guess, kind of brought this like authentic feel to like the project, because there's not one song or there's not one bar from any of us that I can be like, that was bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, because, you know, rappers tend to do that. They tend to over exaggerate, you know, X, Y, and Z or whatever the fuck. Not us. Like, and I don't mean that, again, I don't mean that like I'm not shooting fires at nobody or nothing like that. You know, you get it how you live. But like, I thought that was really dope, because I felt more connected with you guys, like, as far as like team members go, because I'm like, yeah, bro, like, I know exactly what that's like. And it felt dope. It felt dope to have that fucking level of like rawness to it, you know?
I really like that, because it brings to mind for a moment this line by none other than Champagne Papi, as he calls himself. It brings to mind this line he dropped a while back, where he says, I was waiting for my pops. He said he was coming to the house, and he never showed up. And I learned my lesson that I had to grow up. And that's something that a lot of young people through these neighborhoods have had to process. Young men and young women, young everybody, we can say, because there's a lot of folks out here who have had to deal with one parent at home, and sometimes no parents at home. We know that has taken place for our community just as well. So when we are taking the time to say something we've truly thought about and spent time honing in on, that's for all of us.
Yeah, for sure.
That's for all of us.
I like to,
and especially those kids who are out there thinking right now, what's the point? What's the point?
I feel you.
What's the point? I mean, what, the world is on
right,
fire.
what am I doing here?
The world is on fire. Everybody is beefing with each other. The world doesn't have time for somebody like myself. The world doesn't care about what I have to say. Guess what? A lot of young people have been through exactly that same path, and yet we have crafted something of it. They can do it too.
Yeah.
This is for everybody.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know how you feel publicly. Speaking about.
Oh, my mom's. Oh, yeah.
But
she passed away. My mom's passed away during COVID.
Wow.
She didn't necessarily die of COVID,
Sure.
but complications led to that. You know what I mean? But that really motivated me too to finish this, because I remember when she was conscious, because she was mostly on a defibrillator.
Wow.
You know, most of the time. So, but she really wanted me to do this. She was just like, you should do it. You should do it. Like, I know that you probably don't have time or you whatever, but you need to do it.
I love that
You-
so
you- you
much.
just-
I love that so
the only
much.
reason,
man.
the only reason why I bring that up is because I would like to say, and not just publicly, like, you know, on some fucking like for the gram kind of shit, but like for sure, shout out and rest in peace to your moms.
Oh,
bro.
that's right.
Thank you.
100,000.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Because there's you know, like, especially when, like, me personally, when sometimes when like I hit rock bottom and I struggle, I really tend to look back at, like, not really my friends who have had my back, but I tend to think more about, like, I remember I've gone to Ham's place once or twice or
Yeah.
3 times, and
Yeah,
I
you
remember that, like, if I wanted to, there was a plate for me to eat from,
My mom was always
which
like
was like,
that. She would always want to be serving people food. That's what who my mom was.
That's
and
so
that's-
sweet.
bro, that's so fucking crazy to me,
Yeah,
bro.
she wouldn't care. Like, have you ate me, mom?
Yeah.
And
Like,
we were
it-
it's
the
cool.
crazy
like,
thing
nah,
too-
I'm
the
gonna
crazy
get you a
thing too is,
plate,
like,
don't worry.
Yeah, like, I'd be
She's
kind of
like-
ashamed because, like, I mean, I was going over her house to, like, smoke weed,
Yeah.
which wasn't like a, you know, so it's not like I'm over here showing up to her house to do something good, productive with her son, you know what I mean? Like, fucking over here killing our brain cells and shit, and she still had, like, the love and
She's not
attention.
judging you.
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
but-
for sure.
Like,
That shit sticks to me a
I
lot,
think
bro.
like the first time my mom ever caught me smoking weed, I got caught at school, and
Wow.
she was heartbroken. But after
What
a
grade
while,
was that?
that was 7th grade.
In the 7th
So
grade.
I got
okay.
caught with a bunch of weed and stuff, and they kicked me out of school. They kicked me out of King,
For sure.
so I had to go to
For
another school. But it was just crazy. She got used to the fact that I was just gonna do it. She's like, I'd rather you just smoke right here
Yeah.
in my supervision than having to smoke with somebody who's gonna kill you, like, or
Or
you don't
get
know
into
what they
some
can
other
give you,
shit,
you
yeah.
know.
She
So my
accepted her
so my
son
mom
off
was
the
yeah,
bat.
she
accepted her
was
son
really
off
cool
the
for
bat.
that. And she accepted my friends for that. That's really tough because a lot of parents will judge you, and
Yeah.
judge your friends, you know, and tell you they're not good people.
Right.
But my mom was never like that. She would always be ready
Right.
with another plate for my friends, and that was
Actually, I
really
think that's another combo for a different day as well. The sort of the tension that exists between the way we're coming up,
cool. Mhm.
especially growing up in this culture and in this city, versus the way so many of our parents, so many of our people came up,
Yeah.
and their feelings about it.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
just as you're saying, it was rare. Your mom was the exception in
Mhm.
this case
Yeah.
to a much larger disapproval, a much larger sense that, like,
Yeah.
hey, you need to be doing something, like you said. You need to be working. You need to be putting in that time. You
Yeah.
need to be out there getting money, not smoking
And just wasting time.
rhyming, thinking you're gonna be the next
Yeah.
superstar. But that's got to be going on all over America.
Yeah,
Not just
for
in Los
sure.
Angeles.
Not
I'm
just
thinking about everywhere that working people are at.
Mhm.
It's got to be going on. Just where do the kids go?
Yeah.
Especially with the way things appear, the way the job market.
Especially with your, like,
looks.
experiences kind of thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Especially with our parents'
Yeah.
experiences,
That,
where,
I
like,
think,
they were not cut that forgiveness. They were
Right.
not cut that same sympathy.
Right.
They were at work or they were gone. So that's their
Yeah.
lived experience in
Yeah.
so many cases, and they pass that on to you or insist on it for you, and yet you're still gonna feel a little differently about it because the
our
world
reality is
just moved
different. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
Our reality is different than what their reality is, and, like, my son's reality is gonna be different than when mine was, and so,
Hey,
you know,
shout out to all the poppies out there.
Hey,
shout out to all the dads, yeah.
Shout out to the
dads.
fathers.
shout out to all the fathers, shout out to all the mothers.
Shout out to
Single
all the
or-
poppies who still actually even make mention
Who
of the fact that they
work
got
2
their babies.
jobs overtime and
Yeah.
still find the time to go see their kids.
Yeah.
That's a real father.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
for
real
sure.
parents right there. Also, shout out to the moms because the moms do that too.
They be
A
doing a
hundred
lot.
percent.
Yeah.
Work,
100%.
overtime,
There's a
double
lot
time.
to be said though about, especially when you came up without your papi, without your father in your life, and you making a choice that, you know what, I will be there for mine though. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna take the
Yeah.
extra
Yeah, of
step
course.
because
Of course.
Yeah.
it's still going on out there. It's
Yeah.
still going on out there. So
Yeah.
much love to it. Let's listen to the third track for a minute, just
Yeah.
to get into it, just to get into that mindset. The third track, Wanna Know.
Oh, I love that song, man. It's like, I'm not on this
I
one.
hate that. No, I hate, but, like, it's my least favorite. I'm so sorry, dog, but, like,
I love that song, man.
This to me was the most unexpected turn
Yeah.
after the block. So it was just like,
You're like, what the hell? And a different cadence.
When
different
she comes
sound,
in,
yeah.
Yeah.
who is this, by the way?
I think it was a sample.
It was a sample already.
That
Yeah.
Aztec put in there.
Yeah.
Right?
So this is an Aztec produced song with a sample that he
Sampled
with
it.
a sampled hook. And yeah, I think I was there when like you guys were
Yeah,
writing
we
it,
were making
and I
this.
just knew like
It was initially just gonna be me and Fuego.
Yeah.
Fuego wanted me on a track. And he's like, man, we don't have a track together, bro. I want you on a track. And I said, alright, cool, just give me a beat. And he's like, look what I wrote. And this is what he wrote. And I said, what? This is fresh. I gotta get on this. Yeah, he had showed me the verse. He had recorded the verse already. And he had showed me this. He's like, I need you to get on it. I said, cool. Like, I don't know, it's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Fingers all up in her panties, it sound like some mac and cheese. She the type to blow my candles while a nigga half asleep. Told her bring a couple friends, it's me and him and Don C. All she wanna do is fuck, so we ain't got no time to speak. We fussing, fucking, we ain't got time to talk. They tryna get her, but I got it unlocked. They talk about it, but it don't even knock. Her socks off, she ain't wearing no socks. She call me daddy, but it's why I'm her pops. Put it on her
Fuego's
they wanna
dope.
Fuego's the most
ill.
skilled.
He's
Yeah,
ill,
he's
yeah.
ill with the turn of
He's
phrase.
the more skilled out of all of us.
He's just
Definitely.
so ill. That's
Yeah,
for
he's
sure.
Bro, his ability to make double entendres or like compare, like it's insane,
To
bro.
just
Like
play.
Yeah.
to just
I actually feel like he's playing basketball a little bit.
Right, well, with the words.
That's
and
right, with the
rhyming.
words. It's like he's just switching it up on you, and he's just like pump faking.
Mhm.
He's alley-ooping.
Yeah.
He's doing everything you can think of.
Yeah.
It really feels like a game with his rhyme and his flow that he is completely aware of. So just as you said, it's something that he, especially by the time of this album, has been doing for some
He's been
10
doing it for a
years.
minute. Yeah, he's been doing it for
At least.
a long time. And like I said, if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have gotten on the album. I probably wouldn't have rapped. You know, I probably wouldn't have rhymed.
for sure. I think that we
It was
all
cool.
made this album because of him.
Yeah,
I think
he
that
was
some way somehow.
He was definitely the backbone of everything.
Yeah. Because I don't.
He helped every one of us find our talent.
I don't.
Actually put our talent to work.
Yeah. I don't remember. He was
Wait,
kind of. He was kind of
wait,
like.
man, yeah,
You
wait.
better
He's kinda like the
register that,
manager.
yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh God.
He was like the manager, like not managers in like your 9 to 5, but he was like the manager of like the
A
group.
creative director, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
No, because we're all creative directors.
Okay, I
Everybody
can see
had
that.
everybody had a creative insight, which was beautiful. But he was like, I would go as far to say like if there was probably a person that we had to point as the leader, this for sure would be on Fuego.
Fuego.
Well, especially when somebody's been doing it for that long.
And it naturally
It's like
felt it naturally felt more like, so what do we do
Yeah.
here? Like you know what?
Yeah, lean on your strengths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lean on that tone.
Yeah.
Lean on folks who have done this before and who you know or trust have your best interest in mind. How can you lose that way, right? So
Right.
Ham, you heard him and he was like, it's ready. You and we gotta get on it together. So you hopped on with him.
Yeah. It was cool. I didn't really know what to say because I didn't know what he was gonna say or whatever. But when he showed me the song at first, I said, "Oh yeah, I gotta get on it." And it was really cool.
Man,
It's
that's
a dope
so
song.
cool.
It's
It's
a
a
dope
dope-
song.
I liked it.
I just never, because I never listened to R&B growing up. Like I never like love songs and things like. Not that it's not for me, because I love some, but like, yeah, I don't know. I heard the song and they were super hype about it, and they were like, yeah, blah blah blah, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm good.
Well, it's funny because I think that happens a lot in hip hop in a certain way. Like there's such a close connection to R&B,
Mhm.
but you have like this branch of the crew, we can say, that's really into both hip hop and R&B, that came up on both, that came up on oldies and classics, even the
Yeah.
Beatles and then some. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
cool.
right.
And then you got this other branch that's like, nah, like I came up listening to hip hop and underground rap at
Right.
that.
Right.
Or
Which is
some of
crazy.
the classics,
Which
and
is
like
crazy.
that's what I go with and that's what I run
Which
with.
is crazy because this dude grew up more with like I know about Atmosphere because of Ham.
Yeah.
I think, to be honest with you, I don't think I
Oh,
don't think
shout
I
out
know.
Atmosphere.
Atmosphere.
just for a
Atmosphere.
minute.
Shout out Slug.
Yeah,
Shout out
Ant,
Ant.
Slug, yeah.
and
Man,
they're
for
still
sure,
doing it.
for sure,
I'm sure
yeah,
they're
yeah.
I'm sure they're playing a show
Yeah.
as we speak somewhere.
Man.
For
I
sure,
really
for
wish
sure,
I-
Slug is an MC that like I do look up to. Like, there's a
He's
lot
really
of
cool.
songs like Scapegoat that I'm like, damn, I wish I could rhyme like this. You know,
Yeah.
like,
It's funny
Slug
too.
is-
It's funny
is
too.
one of them.
I found out about Atmosphere through a friend just as well, and then when I came across Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2,
yeah.
it was Pro Skater 2.
Yeah, oh, that's crazy.
I realized, oh wait, I know
He's
this
really
song.
out
I know
here,
this song.
yeah.
I know
I've heard
who
it.
this is, and it's Atmosphere, and it's a whole vibe.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
shout out to, especially at that moment in time when the underground it was still
Oh man, it was so hot,
Yeah.
dude. Like,
it was still in this final stage though, before everybody got a smartphone and
Right.
everybody could listen.
Oh
to the
my
same
god.
thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
It
was,
was
a
like-
little
like
more.
back to
It was
those
just a
days.
little more of an exclusive kind of
it
situation.
was like
at
you.
that
I
point.
don't even
Your
know.
friend's iPod was a big deal, or at least in my time,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
homie's iPod was a big deal
Like,
because
what
it
the
was
hell?
like,
It was new.
yeah, like you know
You'd
what's up
never
with
seen
this.
it.
Yeah, and you know what's up with this, and I know what's up with this, and whoever doesn't know what's up, that's all good. But this is us.
Yeah.
Like, and nowadays, everybody can tune in to the same cats.
Right? Yeah.
And
yeah,
like,
yeah.
cool, not knocking it or anything like that. It's just that the underground was really something you lived
Yeah.
for a minute, and I suppose that's where your head was at for the most part,
For sure.
rather than some of the classics
But-
and
but-
some of that R&B.
And that's what I was gonna bring up. Ham knew a lot about like underground stuff.
Yeah.
He knew a lot about like metal, like rock and metal
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Because in his room, I remember he used to have like guitars and whatnot. And like, I was really surprised when he made when he made that song, because I just initially thought like he never once struck me as like that kind
As
of
that kind
to
of-
make a sentimental song. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like a love song. Even Elmer, but Elmer being an MC, like whatever beat, he will fucking spit to
Yeah,
anything.
it's
Like
better.
he spits to anything. So you know,
Yeah, I
that,
definitely was more on the underground side. I like Wu-Tang. I like
yeah,
Atmosphere. You know,
oh, for sure.
Black Sheep. You know, all them stuff. You
Yeah.
know, all,
For
man.
sure.
I remember you.
I would just bump that all day,
Yeah.
and then
Even like
before
Cypress Hill.
before all that, I was a metalhead. I was a thrasher. I had long hair. I had
Yeah,
tight pants, and I had chains coming out my pants.
Actually,
and it
that's
was
a transition that
you
a
know what I
lot
mean?
of young
So-
people, I'm sure, not just at King and at Marshall have gone through, but I'm sure all over LA,
yeah,
you really start with like this loud, provocative,
kind of rebellious.
cutting edge
I
music.
think
Yeah,
that's what it is. I
Kind
think
of
that's
like
what it
rebellious,
is.
kind of.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
You and like you gravitate to the sound of it, to the very
Mhm.
raw sound of that,
right.
and its embodiment. And so you get that with some of these ageless bands, Metallica and
Yeah,
Black Sabbath. And
Megadeth.
later-
DC,
Yeah,
all them,
Korn for me was
Korn,
always
yeah,
was
amazing.
amazing,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Like all of these,
Ideas.
yeah, all of these cats. Like we could go on and on shouting them out, and then eventually you find that like, oh wait, that happens in hip hop too, and then you can get into the storytelling there, because there's, in my opinion, just a little more of a story in a lot of hip hop rather than some of what you got out there with metal
Right.
and such. But like it all works.
Mhm.
It all works, and you'll
It's just-
never forget those like
No,
classic
they're
rock
like
bands
roots.
that you
Yeah, no,
love.
Yeah, yeah.
dude, those are like it's almost like it says a lot about your personality, kind of like they're your roots. I can see even Ham spitting hip hop. I can still see some like metal and rock stuff in there. Like, you know, it's crazy. Like it's just the shit that we grew up with, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, the reason I got into metal and thrash and all that, because my dad's a musician, so he liked all he liked all the guitar. And
So it's
he
in you,
put-
bro.
He played. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
I'm a
So
musician.
it's in you, bro.
Yeah, I'm a musician, so
Ham
I've
the
been-
musician.
I've been
Ham the
I've been
musician.
playing since I was like 8 years old. Guitar, drums, bass, and all that. So
I think I do remember drum.
Yeah, I still have my drum set.
I think I remember.
I still have my drum
You would
set
even
there,
take
so-
your drumsticks
man.
to school every now and then.
Yeah, and then I would bring my guitar everywhere. But my dad wanted me to be a musician first. Like he wanted me to play music like Spanish, norteños, corridos and stuff like that.
Wow.
So he
Again,
plays,
like
a
root-
lot of bajo sense.
Root shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my dad's like all into that, like bajo sexto, all that stuff.
What is it? What's bajo sexto?
Bajo sexto is like a 12-string guitar, but for Spanish, like norteños would use all that. So it's a 12-string guitar.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What that reminded me of was like in Honduras we have like a national music kind of thing. It's called punta,
Oh, punta's amazing.
which is very like, it's almost very like African, like
Inspired.
yeah, like drum and bass kind
Sure,
of thing. Yeah.
sure.
I actually think it derived from like African like music style. You know how like when they get
By all
together and they
means,
yeah.
by all means.
And like there's this band called Casabe, which is a famous punta band, and like now they're like worldwide, which is freaking crazy. True story, my mom is really good friends with them, and like they would come right here, have a barbecue or carne asada or whatever. And they kind of mainly did that because they didn't have a lot of people in the States that like, because they would like to come here, and like they wouldn't really necessarily like to like sleep in hotel rooms. So they would always like to crash at a friend's house,
Sure.
because
that
it
makes a
was
lot
more of like
sense.
we're here to like kind of like have fun and shit, that it's not just like work or like concert related or whatever the fuck. I actually have like this whole sheet of like all of their like signatures that I made them, like like in case you guys get famous and shit.
Hey.
That's what's up.
So I made them give me like signatures and shit. So like it's
That's
dope,
what's
yeah.
up.
And like, so you talking about that and like your father and like musician made me think about again like roots. Like I grew up listening to punta. Like it's what my mom bumped, Saturday mornings and whatnot. But yeah, like it's crazy. It's really it's quite interesting hearing how different like our backgrounds can be, not only musically but like personally or whatever. But like right now we're talking about music specifically, but like who would have thought that would have turned into hip hop, and then hip hop would have turned into like you doing something with like your friends,
The
like
cipher.
Yeah,
the
the
cipher,
cipher, yeah.
no, that's crazy. The ciphers, bro. Like
A lot of tiki tac, right?
a lot of
Sure,
well,
sure.
at least for me, for sure. But I do remember Ham and Fuego automatically having a skill set when it came to like freestyle and cipher, which I always wonder, like, are these motherfuckers bullshit? Like, how the fuck are they so good at this shit? Like, just coming up with shit, I always knew, like, nah, I'm pretty sure they write some shit or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But like, there's a trick to it, kind of thing.
That's right.
But like,
that's right.
you can tell that that's a skill that like you don't kind of forget,
Well, you have to care about it to develop the skill.
Yeah, of course.
True,
You know
true,
what I mean?
because they would do that.
For you to not know whether what they have is written or off the top, they've spent time.
They spend kind of
Making
like he
sure
said,
that
he
you
has a
don't exactly
composition
know the
book, so
difference.
I
Yeah.
spend
Those-
hours and
yeah.
hours, sometimes days, just rhyming and just this cool, this is cool, this is cool. I would switch this and I would switch that.
I mean, it's so cool, especially knowing that your pops has wanted that for you
Yeah.
in this or that way, and then to
Yeah.
know that Fuego, you connect with Fuego, and
Yeah.
Fuego is really gonna push you to do some of your better work, and so, man, it's going down. And what I think we're gonna do for now is we're gonna cap it. Let's do like a part 1 or a part 2, or
Yeah.
see who we can bring out the next time.
Yeah, of course.
Just so that we are all chilling and kicking it,
Yeah.
talking about the creative process. For
Yeah.
now, we are here. We've gotten this introductory convo between us together, and I love it, man, because it gives me a lot more insight, especially hearing about your backgrounds as you came into this project. And I realized, oh, for sure, like we gotta frame this so that everybody knows in just the right way, just like what we did with the album, right? Like,
Right.
oh, okay, let's get those pieces, let's get those golden nuggets out, and then let's make sure that we arrange them as we need to put on the best show for folks. So I really appreciate both of you coming through. Shout out once again to SickAssHam,
Hey.
as well as to DeuceSeis. Shout out to Don.
Shout out to you, bro.
and
All of
Forms.
this is
Shout
happening
out to
because of you.
Fuego.
Hey, shout out to Fuego.
Shout out to the whole Virgil Village, to
Village.
East Hollywood,
Yeah.
to everybody who's just coming across some of these neighborhoods, but who can see that they're working class, that there are people coming up.
Yeah,
I'm
speaking
putting
about
the
working
best
class,
foot.
there's a couple of our friends that are trying to do, like, for example, like Victor, he's like cooking every now and then, and he
Oh,
always
yeah.
like, so Shout out to Victor, Chef Vic.
He grew up in the village too.
He
He's
grew
a
up in the
local
village
too.
too.
Everybody. We're gonna get as many.
We're gonna get
as
everybody in
we
the
can.
village in
Man,
here.
yeah.
We're gonna
dude.
get as many.
I'm
as
thinking
we
about
can.
everybody that I've seen on my Instagram story. Even my ex Cynthia. Shout out to Cynthia. She's over here trying to like,
Let's
make
go.
her own
you know, like,
business,
yeah.
too. She's
which
from
by the
Atlanta.
way,
I'm
has
sure-
She stayed on
always-
Monroe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
yeah, Monroe. Which by the way has always David Gomez and Cynthia have always shown the tape love. Like anytime that I
Yeah.
post, whether it be like a song that I wanted to post or
Oh, yeah.
or like a repost from somebody, David and Cynthia are always like, yeah, it was cool, you know, blah blah. You guys
Yeah.
made this shit, and it's like, I don't know, it's just, it's really cool to see like people care about this shit. Kind
That's
of thing,
right.
You know, like
Yeah.
And you better start believing it, and let it be.
Yep.
You better start believing it and let it be. Let it be.
you
And
see how you singled me out. It
see
was
what
for
else-
a reason.
and see what else you got in line for them. Let them know, hey, you like this? You didn't even know what's coming to you
Right.
next.
Facts.
Right. Exactly.
Facts.
Because we stay just getting started out here. All right,
Facts, yeah.
we'll cap it for now, you two. I appreciate it. Thank you for joining me on JT the LA Storyteller podcast.
Shout out to JT. Go follow
Let's
that.
go.
Go follow the community.
That's right. Follow the newsletter.
The
Subscribe to
newsletter. Yeah, I'm sorry, I
That's right.
blanked out on the name.
It's all good. Making a neighborhood.
Making the neighborhood. I was gonna say in the neighborhood. Yeah, go follow and subscribe to Making a Neighborhood. Hey, you wanna know crazy story about that? I used to live in Boyle Heights, and for like a year, and I remember seeing that somewhere in Boyle Heights.
Okay.
I don't
can
know.
see something like that.
I
Actually,
don't know
can see,
how,
I
bro.
can see
Because
how that.
because I
I can see
remember.
how that is.
I remember when you told us you were gonna write the piece and then you sent us. I saw the Making the Neighborhood like logo and everything, and I'm like, I've seen this shit in Boyle Heights before. Like I don't know how I've heard
Shout
about
out
it.
to my homegirl Sammy. That must have been
Shout out to
because
Sammy.
of you. Yeah, that must have been because of my good homegirl and colleague Sammy Haylu Hernandez,
Oh, okay.
and also my homegirl Ali Rachel Pearl.
That's
So
what's
we're gonna connect more of these dots together. I can assure you this. For now, we've certainly gotten started, and man, it's been my pleasure, gentlemen.
Yeah, the pleasure is all
Likewise,
ours,
bro.
you know?
Likewise.
Let's do this. Hey, good shit, my guys.
Jeez.
Good
That's
shit,
what's
Yeah,
up,
man.
dude. That's what's
Good
up.
shit, my guys.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, and it's the beginning. Trust me, it's just getting started. You know what I'm saying? So let's see about when Don CM4 is gonna
Hopefully
get out
we
here,
can
because
get him.
now, especially now, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?